Do you remember how or why you got interested in Dungeons & Dragons? How about your first time playing D&D? Or your arc as a player, I guess your story as a player and kind of how you developed. Maybe you've been a DM. Do you remember the first time you were a DM or what inspired you to be a DM? We all have our origin stories really with Dungeons & Dragons, what got us interested, what sort of happened to us and carried us along on our journey. For today's episode of the Art of Character podcast, I've got guest with me, Jake, and he's going to go over his Dungeons & Dragons origin story. I'm Chris. Welcome to the Art of Character Dungeons & Dragons podcast, where we explore all things D&D, focusing on the heart of the matter, the characters. Let's roll. So in today's episode of the Art of Character, I've got a guest with me, Jake. He's a fellow player and a DM, a friend. Welcome, Jake.
Thanks.
All right. So we've all got our origin story in D&D, right? Sort of what got us into the game, what has inspired us, or sort of how we developed along the way. And Jake is also a DM, so he's going to talk a little bit about that and kind of bring us through his origin story, his journey into Dungeons & Dragons. So, Jake, what got you interested in D&D out of the gate?
Wow. So I think it would be really difficult to talk about my journey in D&D without talking about the fantasy genre in general.
Oh, sure. Let's get into it.
So I have a story from when I was a kid.
Okay.
I had a bunch of friends when I was in fourth grade who were all into Magic the Gathering.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was a kid, I remember I wanted to fit in really bad. And
yeah, I get it.
I told a lot of dumb lies to get people to like me.
Okay. Yeah,
And
sure.
so one day I was at the mall with my grandma and my older brother, and I saw this box set for Magic the Gathering, and I really wanted it because all of my friends talked about playing it, and I really wanted to fit in. And also, I had a interest in the fantasy genre, The Hobbit, Tolkien, and so that's when I really started to get into fantasy. And so I begged my grandma to buy me this box set.
Okay.
And so she did. She bought it, and we went home, and I couldn't wait to open it. And my mom didn't let me open it that night, so I went to school the next morning. So Monday morning, I'm telling all of my friends,
Sure,
I got this box set. It comes with 2 full decks. I'm going to show it to y'all when I open it.
sure.
And I got home from school, and I went looking for it, and I asked my mom, where's that box set? And she said, your grandma came and picked it up and took it back to the store because it had some satanic imagery on it.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I was crushed.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like, we had the satanic panic back in the 80s. Yeah. Everybody, well, not everybody, but some people were freaking out about Dungeons & Dragons. It's devil worship. It's going to lead to your ruin. I mean, heavy metal music, all of it.
Yeah. And so growing up in a household that was, it was very Southern Baptist.
Sure.
It was kind of, it was taught to me that kind of stuff was bad, but I still liked it. And it crushed me. It hurt me so bad that I had told all of my friends this stuff, and now I look like I'm lying. I just never really got to play Magic the Gathering. I never picked it up after that, and so I was a little traumatized by that.
Oh man, yeah, I get it, absolutely. So how did that really bring about your interest in D&D?
Well, so from there, I got into video games. So my love for video games comes from the story building. I love a good story. I don't really care about the challenge.
Okay.
I like to build a cool character. I want them to look cool. I want them to have the coolest looking weapons.
Absolutely.
And so
I get it. Yeah.
I build them out. And so as long as the story is really good and engaging, I love those games. And so I think my first experience with that would be Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Zelda game Ocarina of Time really grabbed me as a kid. We had a Nintendo 64, and so from there, I loved games like that, especially the Zelda franchise. And then from there, we have Elder Scrolls.
Sure. Did you play that through?
I played so I picked it up at Skyrim, and I've played over 1,500 hours worth of
Oh
Skyrim.
my goodness. Well, so there we go. All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
different character builds, different kind of styles of playthrough, and so I just kind of developed this love for switching it up. I want to play characters in different ways with different builds, and so from there, I'm kind of a late bloomer with things, man. I pick things up far after their kind of infancy and rise to fame. I got really interested in Dungeons and Dragons from the Stranger Things.
Absolutely. You know,
Craze.
Stranger Things really it does a great job showing what D&D, what the origins were like back in the 80s, and they were playing first edition D&D.
Yeah.
But that very first episode, I think it's the first season, first episode, they're playing D&D like right then, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the story.
Yeah, so it's really cool how they did that. They have like 3 different storylines going at one time, and one of them is the world from the perspective of a kid who's obsessed with Dungeons and Dragons.
Awesome, right?
And then the other one, like, there's a lot of nostalgia in that series.
For
where
sure.
One of them is like the Brat Pack kind of 80s teenage melodrama with the teenagers in that story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I loved those movies when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
16 Candles and then the overarching story are the adults and the conspiracy theory with MK Ultra and hating and being very suspicious of the government. Like you know me, so
Right.
all of that stuff really kind of drew me into that series. And so
And the kids are like living their world with Dungeons and Dragons. So
Yeah.
it definitely shapes their worldview, but essentially the game is essentially coming to life for them, which would be, of course, terrifying.
yeah,
But amazing, right?
Yeah, and they also draw in some other pop culture references that I really clicked with. Like they refer to a patch of woods in Hawkins as Mirkwood.
Okay.
And so that's from the Tolkien universe. And so my ears perk up at a lot of this stuff. And so it started to become popular and cool to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And so I really wasn't in that world as I had kind of gone a different path, started family and a career and didn't really have a lot of time to search out for Dungeons and Dragons parties or opportunities to play. But that became much more available, especially because of the pandemic.
Sure.
happening.
So, right. So I know how this worked out for you because I was there.
Yeah.
But so what got you into your first game of D&D?
Yeah, so Stranger Things was a thing, and it was starting to become more popular. And then I was in Seattle on the day that the first case of COVID hit the United States.
Oh, wow.
And there was also like a mass shooting that was a block away from my hotel, and so I was like, "Get the hell out and get me the hell out of here." So I went home, and then the lockdowns happened.
Right.
And so we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't hang out with our friends. And so I believe I made a Facebook post asking if there were any D&D parties that were willing to meet virtually.
Right. And I think right about that time, I put up a post that said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a D&D campaign. Who might be interested, right?
Yeah, and you jumped in and you referred to your post, and I think Bill also jumped in, who's our current game master.
Right, absolutely.
And so from there, I was invited into y'all's game, and the rest is history, man. I think having you and Bill to kind of help to guide me into that process has been really cool, since you guys are old school and you got to
Sure.
play when it wasn't cool, and you remember the first edition and kind of have
Right.
seen the evolution of the game. I get a really cool window into how not only the mechanics of D&D, but like the history and evolution of it too.
Sure.
It's been really cool.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the interesting thing about that is that we live together in the same town. I mean, here we are. We were friends before that, but it's the pandemic. We're locked down, and so for me, the reason I'm offering is, hey, let's get into D&D is because I needed something to do, and I wanted to play. I hadn't been playing in several years, and I thought, what a better time, right? What a better kind of window. So another guy also lives here locally in the town. So Bill lives here, you live here, I live here. And then initially we had 3 other people, a friend of mine from high school who plays D&D with me back in the day also. So that's cool. A friend of mine's from high school's daughter, who was 14 or 15 at the time, she joined the party. We had to have a discussion beforehand to make sure we all had the ground rules down on playing with a teenager, because the other member of the party was my son, and so he was a college student at the time. So what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 men and 1 very young teenage young woman. So anyway,
it was a great experience, man. I think what's really cool about D&D, my favorite part is session 0.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Tell us about that.
So sitting down with the party and kind of game planning, we don't really know what the adventure is going to be.
Not yet. Well, maybe you know a few details, like the world or the theme or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we can ask we ask the DM questions about, like, maybe what could we expect to encounter while we're there.
Sure.
So we can build our party and kind of maybe not optimize fully. We want to make it fun, but at the same time, we don't want to be caught with our pants down.
Right. I like making a fun character, but an effective character.
Yeah.
I want my characters to be effective. Some people make these meme characters, which I don't understand this really, where they make them completely ineffective, and that's the joke. And I'm like, okay. If I'm the DM and you're making that kind of a character and they're completely ineffective, the joke's going to be you're going to be re-rolling a character because, they're not going to make it.
Yeah, no, I think that the law of reciprocity is definitely allows for that.
Right.
If I'm just playing around and making a character that's not going to be able to survive, I'm not going to survive.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, sitting down with the party and building a character, really thinking deeply about where this character comes from.
Sure.
What is motivating this character?
Yeah.
Why is this character even in this adventure? Like, why am I here in this place at this time looking for an adventure with these other strangers? Putting all that together with an interesting background that might come up in the story, is really cool.
I love it.
And on top of that, just kind of building out, like, what does it look like? What does the character look like? What kind of armor do I plan on having?
Sure.
What kind of weapon do I plan on wielding?
Right.
How do I plan on interacting with the other characters?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and especially in this case, because we really didn't know each other at the time.
Right.
I didn't know Wyatt. He has a really cool style of role playing, and I didn't expect that. I had no idea what to expect from the party. So going into it, I believed I played, my first character was a dragonborn paladin.
Yeah.
His name was Olaf.
And
he was
Olaf the Dread.
Yeah.
Olaf the Dread. Right?
He's an absolute tank. I love that character. So that was like my baptism of fire into Dungeons and Dragons, and that character was actually really strong and charismatic and really fun to play. He was very much kind of my style, or I would say very in line with my own personality. So
there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So easy. It was easy to play because I was really just playing me. It's like
so strong and high charisma, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So more of a leader type and wanting to help, but maybe doing a little bit too much every now and again.
It's okay. Yeah, right on. So that process though of creating some of those first early characters, and I remember, this was my introduction right here, the Moldvay Red basic set in the early 80s. And I just remember rolling up some of those early characters and how much fun that was. It's still a lot of fun today, but early on, like your first character is so much fun.
Yeah.
And just and what's this going to be like? And, I can't wait to get into the game and use this sword and kill somebody.
Yeah, and kind of searching out for loot that really fits your character mold, and
Sure.
when you kill your first big bad guy, the loot that you get from it is just so satisfying, man. There's something about that where you kind of divvy it up according to the characters and what matches their personality and class, and that stuff is really cool to me.
I know. I think, and if you have a little bit of an argument, I think the best way is Rochambeau, rock, paper, scissors, buddy. Yeah. Let's go.
If you get a good party, though, everybody just kind of looks for what's best for the party, not what's best for themselves. Unless you're playing like a character that is like extremely selfish, and you got to role play that, and you're like, no, I'm keeping this for myself because that's my character.
Right.
That you get some of that, and I think a lot of good players recognize that and say that is what's best for the story itself, because it's
a fair point, right?
Yeah, it's on brand. You gotta stay on brand as much as possible, and if you don't, you have to have a reason for going off brand.
Sure. But again, always, it is a cooperative game. You got to be careful about how far you push those elements that are really going to run counter to the party. I think it's good to bring those up for a little character gameplay conflict. And I think it's even great to do a little wink, be like, by the way, guys, this is my character. This is not me. Not trying to be a jerk here, but you could break the third wall, as they say, and this is what's about to happen. We're going to do it. And then after you've been in the game a little while, then you can just role play that. People will understand, right?
It helps to look at like traditional storytelling when we're working with our own characters, to look at what you like in like your traditional hero's story. So I look at like Game of Thrones, right?
Okay.
Game of Thrones is excellent storytelling. Look at the characters that you really like in that story.
Right.
They're not the overly selfish ones that are trying to grab everything they can from life and protect their own ego.
Probably hate those characters.
Exactly.
Right.
The ones that don't want the power, the ones that want to serve and not be seen, are the ones that you like the most, like the Onion Knight, Jon Snow.
Sure.
Tyrion to some degree, but you like him because he's really quippy, and you can tell that he's not trying to grab power. He really is concerned with the well-being of the people that he loves.
Absolutely. Or Arya, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's kind of on a vengeance path, but that's
she's on a vengeance path, but with you feel like it's with good reason. You sympathize with her plight, because her background is like, she was dragged. She was dragged through the low bottom portion of the city, had to watch her father get beheaded, and then
tragic backstory.
Yeah, they're great, man. So when I'm working, like, there's nothing wrong with a redemption arc. If I make a character that's really unlikable and kind of evil, there's something about the redemption arc, like Jaime Lannister. You hated him in the beginning.
Sure.
Right? But he has this redemption arc because he gets dragged. He gets his hand cut off. He falls in love with Brienne of Tarth. And so his motivations change. And I think that makes a really good story, really good character in the story too. But if you just play it like the selfish, egotistical and greedy person because that's what your character is, you're probably going to get people that hate you in your party.
Right. Yeah. That's going to be hard for the rest of the table. It's going to be hard for most games. All right. So talk about then, so we get past session 0. Do you remember your first session? Do you remember what happened? Or do you remember what that was like, the excitement?
I don't remember any specifics from the game, because I don't think that I really play the game for that reason. I remember like overarching parts of the story that are being told.
Okay.
And I think that stuff is what grabs me and keeps me coming back to the game.
Right.
But I also have ADHD really bad, man. So if I'm not fully engaged, it's easy for my mind to wander.
So do you remember the story arc from that first adventure? It wasn't really a campaign. It was wasn't really a one shot, but it was a shorter adventure.
Refresh my memory.
I don't remember the root of this story, but it was essentially we were heading to this crypt or this dungeon. There was some sort of evil force or something that we were dealing with. I don't remember the name of it either. But anyway, it was a small dungeon, and we had a little bit of combat outside the dungeon with some goblins. Then we got into the dungeon, and I believe there were some orcs. I'm not exactly sure. But one of the characters died in that second combat.
Yeah, Glomley.
Glomley.
Oh, Glomley.
So Glomley
yeah.
was the first one. So Glomley died. I made a mistake. I misread the hit points I had left versus the damage I had taken. And so I looked at my damage taken. I thought those were my hit points left. I probably had 2 hit points left as a first level character. From the first combat, I rushed straight into combat, and Glomley is killed. I don't know. The rest of the party, I think, was a little bit stunned.
Yeah. It was funny because a lot of us were first timers.
Right.
So I was a first timer. I think that Wyatt was a first timer.
Absolutely.
And Ava was a first timer.
Absolutely.
And so in our very first real combat in the game, one of our party members dies. And not only just one of our party members, our cleric.
The cleric died. So I quickly re-rolled a cleric. And I was kind of mad, but I was also like, man, I'm going to make this fun. And I'm like, I'm redoing a cleric. I changed it up just a little bit. And I was like, his name's Glomley. I just thought that was hilarious and fun. And he was going to be Glomley's brother. He was going to be about 2 or 3 rooms ahead of the party. And Bill said, you're going to be bound and gagged in a room ahead in the dungeon. I was like, fine, great, terrific. And so, and nobody knows this because I haven't done any intro. I'm rolling a character while you all are playing. And I'm like, So anyway, I'm like, I'm Glomley. I'm looking for my brother. And you're like, your brother? What's he look like? Looks just like me. His name is Glomley. I'm looking for some of his stuff. It's got some family heirlooms. You all had looted the body. It was anyway.
Wasted no time.
We had anyway. It was fun. So do you remember kind of being hooked by that campaign and just like, this is awesome?
Yeah. So it's something about the way my brain works when I hear like class of character, and we start talking about rogues and clerics and fighters and paladins and monks. That stuff really tickles my brain. So really the session 0 pulled me in, the little bit of combat, and then that trope of re-rolling a character and it just looking the exact same as the last character is hilarious.
Looking
man.
close.
Yeah. I think we joked about it one time when they came out with the Dungeons and Dragons movies recently.
Right.
That it would have been even funnier if one of the characters had died and then a new character joins, but it's the same actor playing
a different character. No,
playing
that
the
would
different
be
character.
hilarious. Looks the same, right?
It's a great trope.
Right. Was a bard. Now it's a rogue.
Yeah.
A little different outfit, but like anyway, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. I really liked the combat in my first campaign because I was playing more of a martial character and he was a tank. So the Dragonborn Paladin that I had was really high hit points. He could take a lot of hits, and at later levels he would deal a lot of damage. And so some of those scenes were really cool when I got to paint the scene of how I was killing this baddie.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of that stuff was really fun.
You played your first session or you played your first campaign, and Bill's the DM. And we are progressing on. The party decides to stay together. We want to keep playing. The pandemic's still going on. So do you kind of remember your development as a player and kind of what kept your interest up, what you wanted to do? I mean, we've been together now coming up on 6 years. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of amazing. I kind of want to just take a step back and think about how
it's the only time I've had all the original party members stay together for that long.
Yeah, it's been great, man.
Been playing for over 30 years. I mean, 40 years really, and or coming up on 40 years. That is just incredible. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the same group of people, we started during the pandemic. There's probably a little bit of a bond there from all of us doing that at that time. A few other players have added in, which is also cool. But so we've grown a little bit. But yeah.
Something about building a character, your first character,
Right.
where I became really invested in this character.
Right.
Because it's the first one that I've started to develop. And it really feels like a part of me, you know, I guess it would be like an actor having their first role in a movie and that character itself.
The first paying role or whatever, right?
But then you start taking levels. And I think that like when I started taking levels and really thinking through what kind of subclass do I want to have with this character? What new spells do I want to take? How do I really want to play this? It's like just developing the character itself through the combat and just seeing how powerful that character can become is really cool. I think Bill says this all the time about how our characters in D&D 5e are more like superheroes than they were in the original D&D.
Absolutely. It was pretty easy to just be dead. There were no death saves, and you're coming back as a first level character. You know, you could be resurrected. That was possible, but you had to seek out a high level cleric. It was expensive. Anyway, so most of the time, especially if you were at a lower level and you died, you're just re-rolling. You're just, new character. And that's it. Once you die, you die. Healing was also a lot slower, too. We didn't have short and long rests. The mechanic just didn't exist. It took days to recover your full hit points in rules as written.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we just kind of cut to a long rest and we roll some hit die and we're good to go.
How about a short rest? Take a little nappy nap, roll some hit dice, and you can be back to full hit points. Little 1 hour nap. I'm down to 1 hit point, little 1 hour nap, and we're back.
I kind of like that though. My style of play with any kind of even a video game.
Sure.
I really don't care about the difficulty. I know there are people who want to set it to the highest difficulty and they want to get these achievements because they wanted to be the best at it. Look, dude, I'm 41. I have a kid. I have a career. I don't have time to get good at all of these video games as they're coming out. I want to just play it, enjoy the story, feel like I'm a part of that story.
Sure.
Direct it in a way that kind of instills, reflects myself in that story. And then later on, I can have some nostalgia about it, maybe play through it again,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So then, talk about some of the other characters that you played that you really enjoyed. I remember the rogue. I forget the rogue's name.
Callan. Yeah, Callan Glasseye.
Callan Glasseye. Was he missing an eye?
He was. He had one glass eye. And Callan was a really cool character to play. It's probably my first attempt at building a character that had a backstory that really worked with the DM to, it was like some behind the scenes character development and a nice redemption arc.
So you talked to the DM and you kind of worked some things out, really, right?
Yeah. He was a thief that was kind of raised in the gutter of the city. And he grew up like eating rats, and he was like an orphan. He was a really tragic backstory.
The tragic backstory.
Yeah, and he made a pact with a demon, so he could get out of that slum and kind of get out of the gutter and be able to afford to feed himself and not starve all the time. And so the pact with the demon made it so he was a really good thief. And so he was a part of the Thieves Guild. And so in order to feed himself, he was really good at stealing. And so we took a trip through Avernus. And all through Avernus, this demon would find new and weird ways to just kind of appear in a menacing fashion to Callan. And Callan really didn't want to live the way that he was living. In order to fulfill his pact, he would have to murder innocent people,
Okay.
and kind of sacrifice them to this demon. And so he stopped doing that. And so the demon kept showing up in menacing ways to let him know that, if you don't keep your end of this pact, you're going to be down here forever with me.
But role-playing this, the other players, we didn't know that this is what was going on.
Yeah.
So how does a redemption arc work out for this character? Because there's got to be a redemption arc, right?
Oh, man. So it's probably one of the coolest experiences I've had in D&D thus far.
Right.
So if you know anything about the Avernus adventure, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but there's a part in the end where you fight a really high-level demon that used to be an angel. And so, in order to do so, Callan
got
got
a devil, actually.
Yeah,
Devil.
yeah. So Callan got some really cool power at the end, because of the sacrifice that he was willing to make for the party. And so at the end, I don't want to say too much, but he got to deliver the final blow to the big bad evil guy.
And was Callan killed, right? Was fully sacrificed?
Yeah, Callan sacrificed himself and came back as a celestial being, and in a very triumphant and cool way, with a really cool weapon to kind of aid his ascension back into being a good person, I guess.
Right. We've got the cat. We've got the cat coming in, maybe making an appearance. Sometimes a cat likes to be on the podcast too. He's a good boy. So you're a player for a while, and then I know eventually you get interested in being a DM. So I don't know what brought that about. Not everybody wants to be a DM. In fact, a lot of people shy away from it.
Yeah. So I like the idea of being kind of the architect of the story.
Absolutely. Sure.
I live for a good story arc where things maybe they don't work out exactly how you want them to.
Right.
But they end in a way that is satisfying.
Okay.
And so I wanted to build a good story. Also, being a DM really helps me to hyper focus on the story itself.
Right. Okay.
Sometimes being a player, I'm not exactly as engaged as I would like to be.
All right. Understand.
It's easy for me to kind of drift.
It's not your turn, right? A little bit harder to pay attention sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I understand. And combat can slog on. It can be long. It can be a long time in between your turn at times, especially if there's a lot of players or a lot of bad guys. And that's always a challenge as a DM, sometimes to keep everybody engaged and fully a part of a long, lengthy hour-and-a-half combat or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. And so I decided to do kind of a box adventure from D&D. I don't remember what the name of it was, but we played it at your house.
Dragons of Icespire Peak.
Yeah, that was it.
Right.
That was my first full campaign as a DM. I had a great time. It really allowed me to kind of zero in on everything that was happening in the game in real time, and I wasn't able to wander off and kind of disengage from the story itself, which was cool. It helped me to connect with the players a lot better.
It was in person.
Yeah, it was in person. Yeah,
That was your first in-person campaign.
it was. Yeah.
So we've got dice clattering on the table. We've got character sheets and reading the adventure book, and you printed up big maps.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. It gave me a new appreciation for DMs.
Yeah.
It really did. The amount of work and dedication that is put in by the DM, by the GM, it kind of, you're kind of the unsung heroes of the game itself.
Right.
You don't get any of the glorious moments where you're victorious. You are facilitating the victory of the player, and
Sure.
or the downfall,
Sure.
the defeat. Sometimes you have to beat your players just to let them know this is not going to be easy.
There are stakes.
Yeah.
And if death isn't on the table as a stake in D&D, for me, that I
It's
want
not
that.
fun.
Why are we playing?
So I also DM'd a one shot,
All right.
the Vecna, the new Vecna module that came out about 4 years ago.
Don't say Vecna, I think, or something like that, right?
Yeah, don't say Vecna.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, that was really fun. I pre-rolled a bunch of characters. They were all level 20 characters.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, yeah. And it was really fun. I had a bunch of people over to the house for a day long thing. We had a bunch of snacks and you guys got through it way easier than I wanted you to. So I kind of want to run that back. I want to kill a character or two.
Level 20 characters are essentially gods. They are about impossible to kill. So I guess talk about some of the differences. You said you could, paying attention a little bit better versus in person versus online. But anything else about playing in person for your first time? And really, your first time playing in person, you were DMing in person.
Yeah.
So what is that like?
Well, it's much different. I'm used to an online platform that kind of puts everything on. I'm able to put everything on the screen
Sure.
at one time.
Okay.
And so I have a 3 monitor setup where I can see the combat. I can see combat order. I can see the map. I can see my character sheet. I can see the chat window. I have a dice tower. I have all my dice. It's all right in front of me. I know exactly what I need to do when I need to do it. DMing in person is much different because
Oh, yeah, it is.
I'm kind of a creature of routine, and I had no routine when it came to this. So it was a little bit of fumbling around. It was a little bit of dead air where I would have to look something up and understand kind of the rules and
Happens to the best of us.
yeah,
you
what does this adventure actually call for? So I didn't know all of the creatures very well, so it forced me to prepare for these sessions. So beforehand, I would be in the book. I'd be reading about these creatures. I would know exactly where they're going to come from. I would know exactly what it would take to beat them, what their what their difficulty rating is, and
Sure.
and so getting that kind of insight into like behind the veil of D&D, but doing it in person, it was definitely like a trial by fire.
You brought some minis, so they weren't painted, but we had minis.
Yeah.
Had the big map, which is great. I love a big map. I love minis. I think it brings a story to life. I 3D printed you some of the monsters for that. I remember that. I have a 3D printer, so I, started 3D printing some of the monsters for the campaign. Yeah, it was fun. And this was a completely and totally different group. You were a first-time DM, and there were 1, 2, 3 brand new players also at that campaign. There were a couple of other experienced players. Wyatt was there, another older gentleman, and he brought along his teenage daughter. So he had another young teenager, but his dad was there playing, and a couple of other brand new first-time players. So quite a mix.
Yeah, it was awesome. I didn't know those folks personally. And so as I was getting to know their characters, I was also getting to know them as people. And so getting to know the game, the adventure, the players, and the characters all at the same time was quite the experience.
Right. So what do you say? After being DM a couple of times, do you think you'll do it again?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know what it will take to get me to do it virtually.
Okay.
That's a little intimidating, actually.
Learning the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not overwhelming once you learn it. It's fairly simple, but there is definitely a learning curve. You have to watch some tutorials to kind of figure it all out, and it is different managing it online than in person.
Yeah, and plus my own neurodivergence, my difficulty with like my phone is right there.
Sure.
I have my dog in the other room. Like all of the distractions that can pop up. And being responsible for the experience of 4 to 6 other people, it's a big responsibility, I think.
Yeah.
So doing it in person kind of locks me in. I don't have any other distractions. I'm able to focus on what's right in front of me. But virtually, there's some other challenges for me.
Absolutely. So, what does the future look like for you in Dungeons and Dragons? We're still playing in a campaign. We're pretty far into it. You're not DMing right now. But what does the future look like for you?
I think new and more interesting characters, being a player as opposed to being a DM for the moment. Finding new interesting characters to play in and new adventures is probably the way that I'm leaning right now. I have some of these character ideas that we've discussed that I'd like to give a shot and see what they look like. Maybe even in a one shot
Sure.
kind of context, they would be really fun. But I do see myself DMing in the future. Maybe having an in-person game at my place would be fun. It's a little difficult to do that as adults with careers and families.
Sure.
But yeah, if the opportunity arises, I think that's definitely in the cards for me.
So, we could say we've got you hooked, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You see yourself playing into the foreseeable future. And life does have a way of getting in the way of playing D&D. It certainly happens. I mean, it's a meme. It's a trope. Can everybody get together to play on Tuesday? It's like, you have my sword, you have my axe, and, somebody's like, that doesn't work for me. And, I've got a scheduling conflict, got to take the kid to a dentist appointment, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the great thing about the game, and I've experienced this before, is you can take a break and you can always come back. One of the things about coming back is the rules may have changed a little bit, but the game is still essentially the same. You can go back to to the original version of D&D back from 1974 or 75, or this guy right here, and you still recognize it as D&D, and it's not that far off from what we play today. Some people would argue and say, oh, the rules are different, everything's all different, the newer versions ruined it. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We can argue that till we're blue in the face, but the essentials, the core of the game, the storytelling, the characters, fighting against monsters in a fantasy world with some magic, it's unchanged, and it'll always be there even if you take a step away. So then you've played for, I know, at least two different DMs. I was one of them, and, Bill's another one. I guess without naming names, but what are some things you really like about what DMs do, or some things that are challenging that DMs do that maybe you wish they did differently?
I don't know that I would say that I would like for them to do anything differently.
Okay.
The experiences that I look for are very much I'm looking for, how do you do it? It's kind of like how I get tattoos done. I will give my tattoo artist an idea.
Right.
And then I let them have full control over the way that they apply that idea.
Okay.
I like different experiences. One thing that I do like is when a DM will take kind of special care with a character that has like a really interesting backstory that can be worked into the story.
Yeah.
The way combat is run, or things of that nature, don't really matter as much to me. One thing that I love about D&D is problem solving and cool puzzles. I love a good puzzle box. I love a good mystery. I love things that need to be solved and figured out. And so if a DM is really good at working those kind of things into their story, I'm sold.
Yeah. There's a great campaign out there, one of the pre-written ones for 5e, Tomb of Annihilation, and there are a bunch of complex puzzles and traps throughout that characters have to work on, which is just, I actually think the moments where characters are figuring out how these traps or rooms work are some of the more fun elements of the game, and really kind of brings the table to life.
Yeah.
Problem solving, puzzle solving, it's team building.
Yeah, I look for that kind of stuff in a campaign, just like I look for it in kind of leisurely areas of my life. I love a good escape room.
Oh, yeah.
I love a good puzzle box. I love a good mystery book. And I love a good puzzle or mystery in my D&D.
Absolutely. So we all have our origin stories with Dungeons and Dragons and kind of an arc of how we got into the game and how that progressed. And some of us get into being a dungeon master. And really, it's personal to all of us, but I think it's relatable. There are just core elements that cross over no matter what your origin story is. So thank you, Jake. Thank you so much for coming in to this episode and being a guest and telling us about your origin story.
Hey, it was my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. And we'll have you back soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Art of Character podcast, where we publish new Dungeons and Dragons related content each and every week. If you want to support the channel, you can like, comment, or subscribe, or click below and you can join our Patreon, or click below and you can purchase something from our merch store, like this really cool t-shirt just like this. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us.